Some people give their whole life to something and still aren't sure if it mattered. This is a story about one of them. There was a small, quiet alley, the kind of place people passed by without noticing. At the end of it, there was a simple wooden door, on it, a faded sign. Calligraphy, Mrs. Eleanor. She had been there for years, long enough that the paint had worn out and most people had stopped coming, but every morning she still prepared the room the same way. 6 desks, always 6. She cleaned each one, carefully, slowly, like someone would sit there, even though most days no one did. She filled the ink, arranged the pens, and always she chose the better pen for the student. Then she sat down and waited, not impatient, not hopeful, just ready. One day, a boy came. His name was Owen. He didn't really want to be there. He stood slightly behind his grandmother, phone in hand, already somewhere else. But she brought him anyway. The door opened. The teacher looked at him and simply let him in. Inside, the room was quiet. Not empty quiet, but a kind of quiet he wasn't used to. He looked at the desks, at the light, then at his phone, then back at the room. Something felt different. She told him to place the phone face down, not as an order, just how things were done, and for some reason he did. She began the lesson, slowly, carefully, showing him how to hold the pen, how to move his hand, how to make a single line. He watched, more than he expected to. Then he tried, and it wasn't good. The line shook, the ink spread too much. It didn't look anything like hers. He pulled back slightly, unsure. She looked at it and said one word again. So he tried again. Still wrong. Again. A third time, a little better. She didn't praise him. She didn't criticize him. She just kept watching. Then she reached forward and adjusted his wrist, just slightly. No explanation, just a small correction. He tried again, and this time something felt different. The line wasn't perfect, but it wasn't empty either. He noticed it, and when he looked up, she was already looking away, as if that moment didn't need to be announced. The next week, he came back. No one asked him to. He just did. Weeks passed. Sometimes he was late. She didn't mention it. Sometimes he made the same mistake again. She corrected it the same way as before, like it was the first time. No frustration, no score being kept. Slowly, something in him changed. He held the pen differently, sat differently, stayed a little longer in the moment. Then one day, he asked a real question. How long does it take to get it right? She paused, actually thought about it, then said, for some things, a few weeks. For others, much longer. It depends what you mean by right. He didn't fully understand, but he didn't forget it. More weeks passed until one day he arrived early, before her. He set up his own desk, prepared the ink. When she walked in, she saw it, but she didn't say anything. She just sat down and began the lesson. Because saying something might have made it feel different. And what was happening didn't need attention. It just needed to continue after every session. After he left, she stayed. The room grew quiet again. She opened a cabinet and took out different tools, finer ones, older ones, and she worked on something carefully, slowly. Night after night at the same time, Owen had started practicing at home on scrap paper with the wrong pen. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't even know why he was doing it. He just knew that hour in the room felt real, and he wanted to feel that again. One evening during class, the light turned golden, the kind of light that makes things feel honest. He looked up and asked, "Did you always want to teach?" She stopped, thought about it, then said, "No, I wanted to just do the work, but it turns out teaching and doing aren't that different." He nodded, then asked something harder. "Do you think you were good at it?" This time she didn't answer, not right away. The silence stretched, because the truth was, she didn't know. She had shown up. For years, she had tried, given what she could, but students came and left, and she was never there to see what stayed. Finally, she said quietly, "You do your best. You hope something stays, but most of the time, you don't get to see it." Owen looked down at his paper, at the line he had just made, better than before. He didn't know how to say it, but he was the answer. She just didn't know it. Their last session came. Nothing dramatic. Just another morning. As he was leaving, she said, "Come next week. Same time." He hesitated, but nodded. That night she worked longer than usual, more carefully than ever before, and when she finished, she wrapped it and wrote his name on it, Owen. The next week he came back, walked down the alley, reached the door, knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. He tried the handle. Locked. A neighbor came down the stairs, looked at him gently. She passed away a few days ago. He stood there, not knowing what to feel. He had only known her for a short time, but somehow it felt like losing something important. A week later he returned. The door was open. Inside, things were being packed. Her daughter saw him, recognized him. She went to the cabinet, took something out, a wrapped scroll, his name on it. She handed it to him. "She left this for you." He took it. It felt heavier than he expected. He sat outside, held it for a moment, then slowly opened it. At the top, beautiful writing, careful, alive, below it his name, and beneath that a message. For Owen, who came without knowing what he carried, and left carrying more than he knows. He sat there reading it, understanding slowly. She had seen him before he saw himself. She had believed in him, without proof, and she never found out if it mattered. But it did, because years later, that same door stood there again, the same room. 6 desks, but this time students were sitting, and at the front, Owen, teaching, the same way, quietly, carefully, correcting a wrist with just a small touch, and on the wall behind him, her work. Still there, still speaking. Some people never see what they started, but that doesn't mean nothing grew. Sometimes it grows anyway.